So let me introduce you to the knitting technique called Entrelac. It looks as if all of these squares are woven in together, and they're actually not. And also, I didn't change the yarn at any point. I used a variegated yarn, and this is how it naturally played out. I did not like the edge when I was done, so I took the same yarn and just did a single crochet border around the edge. So that's what you're seeing there. So with Entrelac, you're going to start with your foundation triangles. Then you're going to go from right to left. You're going to do a left triangle. Then you're going to go from left to right and do these squares. They're actually rectangles until you get that next square on top of them. Then you're going to do a right triangle, and then you're going to do your right to left squares or rectangles, and you're back to your left triangle again. When you end on the other end, you will then end with your closing triangles. So that's one color option if you use the variegated yarn. Here's another color option where you use just the same color yarn throughout, but you get that texture. And then here's a sample of something I did. I wasn't really sold on the yarn and the colors, and it was actually a little unruly on me. So I thought, well, I'll block it. And so all I did is I took a hot iron and some steam, and I just quickly laid the iron down, and it dried pretty quickly. But as you can see now, it's flat and there's no dimension to it, whereas with the other yarn, it looked like it was interwoven. So just know that if you do block the Entrelac, you're going to remove that element of depth, and you're not going to get it back. Just assume you're not going to get it back. You may if you wash it, but most likely you're not. But working with this sample brought to mind a couple of other options that you could do with Entrelac, and that is you could do a hem. It doesn't have to be this wide. It can be smaller. It can be finer yarn. But you could do it as a hem of a sweater. You could do it cuffs of a sweater. You could do it at each end of a scarf and then just do a plain knit in between, or some different type of knit pattern in between. So I think the reason I like Entrelac is that it is so versatile, and the options are completely limitless. So again, let me show you the process of doing the Entrelac. You're going to start with the foundation triangles, and I'll do a video for each step along the way. And first what I will do is cast on 40 stitches and then show you how to make each of those beginning triangles. And then the next video will be the left triangle and how to do that. And then it'll be the left to right rectangles. Now know that the left triangle and the right triangle are worked completely differently, as the left to right triangles or rectangles change as well. So the next one will be the right triangle, and then you'll have right to left. And then the last one will be doing that finished triangle at the top. What I'll also do is I'll do another video for you that shows you how to change the color in between if you wanted to do that. And so the color options are limitless as well. You could do all one color, as we've seen, or the variegated, but you could also change and do two different colors so that they do look interwoven, and I can show you how to do that. You could do something geometric where, let's say, these 8 squares are one color and the middle square is a different color. You could do dark to light, light to dark. You could do each row is a different color. I mean, it's really endless. So how you figure out an easy way to, if you're going to change it for one square, is I took this yarn and did 10 stitches by 20 rows is how it works out. Because what you're doing is you're combining, you're picking up stitches here on this square, and then you're knitting off the stitches that are already on the needle. So it nets out to 20 rows. So you could do 5 stitches, it would be 10 rows. You could do 20 stitches, it would then be 40 rows. So it's 1 to 2 is the ratio of stitches per row. But I did do this as a sample. I did 10 stitches, 20 rows in this yarn of the sample I'll show you. And then I undid it and then I wrapped it on this little bobbin. And if you want to make life a little easier for yourself, if you're going to change colors, is if you go to the embroidery section of the craft store, you'll see these little cardboard bobbins. They're actually made and sold to hold your embroidery floss, but they work in a pinch to hold the yarn as well so it doesn't get tangled. If I was using anything bigger or needed more yarn, then I would most likely make one of these on my own out of a heavier cardboard, just as long as it didn't have a lot of rough edges on it. So the only other thing you'll need for Entrelac is a double-pointed needle. And I'm a huge fan of bamboo needles and circular needles, so I tend to use those so at the end of a row I can actually stretch it out and see where I'm at with it, especially if it's a wide project. So those are your options, and the next video we'll start the cast on, and I'll show you how to cast on, and I'll also show you how to knit backwards or purl in reverse, whatever you want to call it, so that you're not always changing direction and having to front to back change your yarn or change your needles.